Hello, another video request from Love and Lightland. Video request, could you do a video describing the differences between your soul, rebirth, and higher self? What about animals' souls and their rebirth? This is appreciated. Wow, cool request, Love and Lightland. Describing the differences between your soul, rebirth, and higher self, and animals. Well, I think we all have the same kind of soul. So animals are just younger souls. Animals live in smaller bodies with simpler lives, and than humans. So you would be an animal first, and then get the whole basic needs down until you're bored with that and you're ready to ascend up to another animal. So I think the way that the order that it goes is you would start out as bacteria. Then you go to single cell organism, then you be a fish. Just like how we all evolved physically, how we came out of fish and then turned into rodents and then monkeys and everything. Well, I think it's the same pathway for souls as well. So then rodents and then, but there's different kinds of animals too with different kinds of archetypes, just like how the Native Americans would have all their different animals with their different, their skill sets, And so in the animal world, a lot of the animals aren't any more intelligent than another animal. They're just intelligent in a different way. Like a tortoise has a pretty boring life, but he lives a long time, so he'd be the patient person, The coyote would be the trickster, and just like the same thing as what the Native Americans archetypes and descriptions of all the different animals, and even in Europeans with the tarot cards and everything. That's what animals are, and if somebody was a certain animal more than another animal before they become a human, then they have that archetype for a while, and they have that personality and that identification with that animal. Like in the Native American lands, they would call some guy Eagle Feather, well, probably because he was an eagle before he became a human. And I think people can be humans and then go back to being animals. That was an ancient belief with the Greeks. Oedipus Rex, the guy who had sex with his mother and killed his father. This is just made up, but after then he put his eyes out, and they say he was reborn as a wolf. The belief in the ancient Greeks was that if you were a bad person, you'd be reborn as a wolf, which makes sense because wolves are pack animals just like humans. The dogs are really similar to humans, only they're they're more barbaric than humans are. They're more lower evolved. They do the change of guard, through violence. When the old wolf gets old, then the younger wolf kills him, and then he takes over, and then the packs fight with each other, and it's all alpha male and all this kind of stuff. And so people who live lives like that, then it's like, oh well, maybe you weren't ready to be a human. Let's do another couple lives as a wolf. And then people can do it voluntarily too. Like if somebody could be a bird and then they become a human because they decide they want to try out being a human, and then they sit in their life and they're like, you know what, I just love to be a bird, just fly around and be a bird. I bet you they do. They just, okay, and then have it your way, and then they're reborn as a bird. I think there's a lot of reincarnational interchange between humans and dolphins. Dolphins are very. There's a video I saw on a Facebook, or a Facebook friends page of a cat that was on the edge of a boat, and it was playing with a dolphin, and the dolphin was playing with the cat. And you look in the dolphin's eyes, and they're just like people. They're like, you can train them and train the killer whales, and even elephants are extremely smart. Communicate with each other from 100 miles away. You can train them to do stuff, and so animals, those more intelligent animals are the ones who become humans a lot more, are the ones who become humans. That's the next step, But I think the most common animal that becomes human next are going to be the house pets, the dogs and the cats, because they actually live with us and they hang out with us, and they bond with us, and then of course they sit around their whole lives wishing they were human. Like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to just be human? And then they're human. So it's all the same soul. It's just that it's a graduation. It's levels that you pass up through. And if people could see that, then people would have a lot more empathy for animals, and it would be seen as a crime to kick a dog. Kicking a dog is the same thing as kicking a human being. Same thing. Killing a dog or killing a elk is the same thing as killing a person, and that's what the Native Americans felt. They would kill the deer because they had to, and then they'd say a prayer for its soul, and they would only use as much as they need, and they wouldn't just go. And Europeans didn't really, the Christians who came here didn't really have that idea. They'd come and kill as many buffalo as they could and just pile the bones up in these big high piles just because they wanted their hide and wouldn't even eat the meat. And the Indians would be like, oh my God, what's going on here? And then next thing you know, there's no more elephants left, and now we're destroying the whole planet and maybe just going to destroy ourselves because of it. So we need to start looking at animals like they're people, and protect the environment. The environment's more important than money. We need to make environmental laws and protect the animals, and that'll protect our children. So so rebirth. We're all reincarnation. It's just you. You die, and it's just you. The body is just a vehicle. So when you die, it's your same personality. You even look the same. I think that's why siblings look differently, even though they have the same genetics. It's because it's the look of your soul. So like, if somebody looks in the past and they see a picture of somebody who they think they're a reincarnation of, and it looks like them, well, yeah, they're not related to them. It's from another family, but it still looks like them because it's your soul. So I think our souls definitely do come forth, and it's the body is just a machine. Now, the difference between your soul and a higher self, like the structure of the soul, that's the Hindus have, and their Vedas have explanations of this, and even Socrates had the same exact explanation, really similar to the Vedas, and probably had read some of the Vedas, but like the Vedas, you'd have your soul, like you was the person, and then there's the other part of your soul would be like the shadow, or the other part like looking over it and giving, like your higher self, giving suggestions and ideas on what you should do. The way that Socrates described it was like the guy on the in front of the fire in a cave, and so like what we're looking, like the souls that we're experiencing now, it's just the shadow. And the dude in the fire, that's like actually our higher self. And so we're only seeing like the shadow of the real thing. And so, like I think the way that the structure of the soul is that we're all part of one soul, God. God is everything. And so God would be like the universe would be an entire tree. So God would be like the trunk would be the tree, but there is a trunk of a tree. And then the trunks turn into branches, and branches turn into twigs. And so we're like little leaves. Each one of us is a leaf. And then as we get more and more evolved, we would be getting more and more closer to the center of the tree. So then as we evolve, our souls kind of fuse together as more as a one. And so, aliens. When you hear psychics channel through aliens, they always say we do this, because it's kind of like more of a one-minded, like the Borg from Star Trek, only in a good way. And that's kind of how the tradition goes anyways with society. People become countries get bigger and bigger and bigger, people become more and more monolingual, the religion becomes more and more bigger and more constant, and then people agree on more and more stuff. Scientifically, we agree on more and more stuff as people more understand more. And then in the future, science and religion will be the same thing. We all just agree on everything, and then that's us kind of passing into Borg mentality, where we all believe the same thing and we all see each other as the same. And then we get so high that we're all basically like the same. And then but I think there is an individuality that you always have. So maybe then that's when you go out and become like a guardian spirit for the little ones. And it's kind of like connecting to the internet. The higher you get, the more connected you are to everybody else. So you can read each other's minds because you're more connected physically to what everybody else is connected, because you're all closer to the source. And so that's where telepathy comes in and everything. So the higher self, I think, is like how individual souls. I think we do have individual souls that, and this is a really trippy idea, but individual souls that can like bifurcate. And so like you can have a soul, and like a soul brother or soul sister, you could have like another person living somewhere else on the earth now who is actually, when you die, you actually fuse into the same soul. And that's a really difficult concept. But for example, this Bashar, Daryl Anka channels Bashar, who's like a half gray, half human alien, lives 3,000 years in the future from a parallel universe, and so, but all Daryl Anka doing is channeling himself. So it's really himself talking, but it's himself from the future, from a parallel universe, talking through him. So whenever we talk, whenever we have like brilliant ideas, or we know the answer, we get these downloads from cosmos, it's actually from ourselves communicating with ourselves. Because if you can believe in parallel universes, we have parallel universes where there's another Earth in this time frame where something else happens, something bad happens, something good happens, and that's where deja vu comes in, where you're actually communicating with a parallel universe. That's how that is actually ahead of you, because you have parallel universes that are on your same time frame, but then you have parallel universes that are ahead of you by a little bit and that are behind you. And it's actually scientifically explained, like like the Big Bang happened when two bubbles collided with each other, two universes collided, and it's where the bubbles, like these big like energy spheres, bubble collided with each other. But if two bubbles are colliding with each other and they're fusing, that means they're constantly colliding with each other. So there's always a Big Bang happening, and we don't physically communicate with a parallel universe because the signature of the subatomic particles is different, a different shape. So it just doesn't communicate. It just doesn't, communicate. So it's right here, but we don't see it. And so there's an infinite amount of them, all in our same frequent time that happened at the same time. So each time there's a Big Bang, there's an infinite number of different universes created, but there's an infinite number of universes always created. So that's what time travel is. It's just going to another parallel universe that is that is either before you or behind you. And that's how Nostradamus did his predictions of the future, because he actually could see into a parallel universe that was ahead. And that's how you would get predictions wrong, because you're just looking at a different parallel universe. And so like every single moment is actually a different parallel universe. Like you can move from one parallel universe to the other, because there's so many of them, that basically every single moment of the day is a different parallel universe at a different moment. So you can just totally change. That's how people totally change. People are like a drug addict as a kid, and then they become super healthy as they get older. Or somebody's super healthy, and then they get an athletic as a kid, and then they get fat. They just went to another parallel universe because they just we all decide where we want to go, and so that's how like when you get reborn, you're not necessarily reborn. Like if I die in 2050, I'm not necessarily reborn in 2051. I could be reborn in 1525, just in a parallel universe. If I study history a lot and I go, oh man, wouldn't that be awesome to live in Rome? If I lived in Rome, I'd do this. If I lived in Rome, I'd do that. And you think about it so much, and then you die, and then you remember that, and you're like, ooh, Rome, and then you go, okay, and then you just go back to it. And another parallel universe that's so similar that it's the same Rome, maybe a little bit different, but it's in a universe that's behind you, and you just go there, because the universe, the more and more we learn, the more we realize how big the universe is, and how like if there's this picture from Hubble, and you can see in the picture like all these different spirals, and each spiral it's like looking at the stars, but each spiral is its own galaxy. And that area of field of vision is the tip of a needle held at arm's length. That's how much space of the sky the Hubble took a picture of. So we're finding out just how, in each one of those galaxies, how many billions of, Earths like us are there. It's huge. And that's just our universe that we can see now. What about the parallel universes we can't? So the universe is so big that there's really no reason to put any limit on it, especially when you think about eternity. Like we'll live as long as we'll never die. So if you never die, we have eternity future. Then we have eternity past, and then we have just infinite possibilities. So there's no reason to believe that when you die, you can't really do whatever you want. You can't get reborn in the age of the dinosaurs or skip forward in time. It's whatever. But I think most people, when they die and they're reborn. They are reborn linearly, because that's just the mindset that we're all in, and we're all like a family. who are growing together. You know how kids are born and they graduate second grade, and then they all see each other again in third grade, and see each other again in fourth grade, and they all, because we're family, and we all like to reincarnate with each other and have relationships that last longer than just one life. So, and we all evolve, like our society is evolving century after century, slowly, building, one block on top of another, slowly evolving. Well, I think it's the same thing with our souls. And so most of us, when we are reborn, 1 year later, just like how it is, like in my last life, I was probably, somebody said some psychic lady said my arm was blown off, so I probably died in like World War II. And before that, I was an Indian in America, it's pretty common like that. But so I think like sages of the past, like Jesuses and the Mohammeds and the Buddhas, they were just people who old souls who had lived in the future, and they had lived in utopian times, and they just happened to just dream about, oh, wouldn't it be cool to live in the past? I'd love to live in the past and be a religious leader and just to teach them, and I think I can enjoy my life. And so they do. They're reborn in the past. Oh my God! And only they're wise because they've experienced a utopian future, and they keep that in the front of their head, and so then they preach that to all their people, and they live a joyful life. People are like, that yogi, that sage, how come he's so happy in a world of such pain? Well, it's because he sees the world as this giant place where anything's possible. And this is just, like, pain will always exist. Hell will always exist as a place. But people don't go there and stay there forever. Because it's just a different level of growth. So that's why you would never freak out. That's why if you're living in it, you would never actually be affected by it and be depressed by it, because you know that it's always going to exist. There's nothing anybody's ever going to do about it. This place as itself is always going to exist for souls who pass through it. It's just a place. It's just another stage. So they don't identify with it. They identify with the person who's going to help other people get out of it, because we're rewarded by how well we help other people. And so like Muhammad comes and lives in the barbaric Middle East, and he teaches the people, oh no, one God for everybody, yes, and let's fight for our rights, and they're having fun doing it. Like, he's having fun the whole time. Jesus was having fun the whole time, even though people are knocking him and making him out to be a criminal. He was like just laughing and happy all the time. If you read the Gospel of Judas, which was recently discovered, Judas described Jesus as just being, Judas was his number one follower who was told, it's right there in the Bible, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was told to actually go and turn him in. But because Jesus wanted to be a martyr, to become a superhero and make people pay more attention to him and listen to his teachings. But in the Gospel of Judas, Jesus was described as being very laughing all the time and very jovial, and because he was just an advanced being. It was like, he's focusing on the netherler worlds and the happy worlds in the future, and just knowing the difference he was going to make. And he was just happy all the time and joking and everything. People were like, why are you joking and happy? And then, like, you should be sad and angry. That makes you serious. And that's not true. People who are happy and jovial, it doesn't mean you're like some retarded person. It just means that you know that everything's going to be okay in the end, and that when you die and reincarnate, you'll eventually go. Everybody will go to heaven, and so the higher self, I think, is your own self from an own past life or future life, or life that's already happened, that is then communicating with this life. Yeah, and then back to the deja vu. I think you would go, like, if you lived your life and you always wish that you did something else in your life, well, then you'll just live that life again. You'll live the same very life again as the same person, and just do it a little different way. And so that's why I think people get the feeling of deja vu. Like, I feel like I've been here before, only the last time I was here, it didn't go as well. And this time it's a little bit better, And then once you're like, oh yeah, I'm happy, then that's the last time you live it, and you're ready to live the next thing. Like, you can do infinite redos. So that's why, our educational system should be designed off of that. You can't do infinite redos on tests. You have like one chance to do the SAT, and then that's it, no more. Well, how does that motivate people to study? You got to let people do infinite redos, and then it's just the best that you've ever done on the SAT. That's the score you get to brag to people that you did, Like if you trained bench pressing and you bench press 300 pounds one day, and then you just don't exercise for 5 years, now you can only bench press 200 pounds. Well, you get to be remembered for what you did, the best that you did. It's like, and which motivates people to strive. So infinite redos is how we need to live our life in the educational system, because that's how it is in the real life. You can do infinite redos and being reborn. And so, yeah. Okay, so that's basically that. I'm getting a call. Ciao.